Hi, I'm Marty Nimco. Today I want to share some tips for people who aspire to be managers, leaders, probably for their first management job, particularly relevant. The fellows in a leadership training program at two top universities are going to be reading the following article that I'm now going to read aloud to you. I thought it might be of value to you who are aspiring to management or leadership. Even if you've long been touted as having great potential, it can be scary to head out into the work world, especially to see yourself as a manager, let alone a leader, while you're still in your early to mid-20s. Well, the good news is that you can early on become an excellent manager or leader. And in some ways, learning how to do that is simpler than the difficult material you require to learn in college. For example, if you use just the following 5 ideas, you're going to have a real head start. But first things first, it's hard to use leadership skills when you're not a leader. How can you get tapped early for a management or leadership position? Well, conventional wisdom speaks of needing to pay your dues, but because you have enough potential to have been selected as a leadership fellow, and by the way, obviously this article is aimed at those fellows, but if you believe that you have potential to be a leader, you may be wise to skip or at least reduce how much dues you're willing to pay. Here are things you can do now to pave the way. You've heard it before, but while you're still a student, seek out leadership opportunities. They're plentiful in college and not so easily attainable in the work world. So, get active in a student organization. Sooner than you think, if you demonstrate tactful assertiveness, you may get a seat at the table or even be running the show. Consider seeking out a quality internship. They vary from envelope licker to assistant to a respected leader. Be picky. Look for opportunities to be at the elbow of excellence. To that end, when you're interviewing for an internship, don't just answer questions, but ask them. For example, what do you picture my day-to-day being like? And every manager is different. How would your supervisees describe you? Such activities as student leadership opportunities and internships not only develop your leadership skills, but will give you a true edge in applying for a management or leadership position, if not as your first job, as your second or third while you're still in your 20s. And now, let's turn to 5 management musts. The first is, kind collaborative leadership works, usually. Simplistic advice abounds, the most pervasive of which may be, down with management by fear, up with management by collaboration. Usually that is wise, but whenever dealing with people, one size doesn't fit all. For example, if you're taking over the management of a work group that shrugs its shoulder at poor performance, a crisp, no-nonsense admonition may be appropriate, with follow-through in punishing continued sloth. Or, some workplaces have been ground to a halt by endless collaboration, where employees need 3 signatures to get to blow their nose. That often calls for crisp, unilateral, but of course wise leadership. The second of the 5 management musts that I want to share with you is to be crisp. Too much deliberation demotivates employees as well as creates delays, which can be costly, even might allow your competitors to force you to lay off some or all your employees. Most employees appreciate a leader who listens more or less depending on the situation, but as soon as possible, acts. Of course, the wise manager usually explains, crisply, yet with any needed nuance, the reasoning behind decisions. Crispness can be especially important in meetings. Many employees complain of meetings being unnecessarily long, for example because the leader allows too many comments, some of which are made mainly to impress. The third communication, management, leadership must is to optimize processes' thoroughness. Optimize, and I'll explain. In some work groups and types of work, there's no need for process. The workers have excellent judgment on those projects and do things as befits the situation and their strengths. Other work groups, however, may have excellent judgment, but the work is so complex that to ensure quality, a process, for example a checklist, is helpful. And when workers tend to have poor judgment or otherwise are poor performers, more process is usually necessary. The next management and leadership must is the following. Hiring may be your most important task. Do it wisely. Alas, too many job seekers fall prey to exaggeration and even downright lying. And even honest job seekers are often coached given careful wordings for resumes and in response to tough interview questions. That makes such candidates appear to be better employees than they'd actually be. And that's why employers, top employers at least, rely mainly on referrals from trusted colleagues. Of course, don't allow a referral to blind you to a candidate's weaknesses. And as important, interviews should avoid stock questions such as, tell me about yourself, what's your greatest strength and weakness, and tell me about a problem you faced. More valid are brief simulations of common, difficult tasks that the candidate would face on the job. For example, if the successful candidate would be running meetings, give the interviewees a one-page backgrounder on some agenda item, and then have them lead a few-minute discussion on it with the interviewers playing the role of the meeting attendees. Also, probe accomplishments stated on the resume. For example, resumes often claim to have saved the employer a large sum of money. Ask, would you walk me through what you did to save the organization all that money? And finally, the final leadership and management must is that I want to share with you, at least for today. There's more, but that's what I want to share with you for today. Exert due caution on issues of race and gender. You must be sensitive to even subtle racism or sexism and respond promptly. On the other hand, don't focus so much on those issues that the work group's performance or morale suffers. This all requires vigilance and nuanced sensitivity. The takeaway? Leaders often feel good about their career because they have a measure of control, the opportunity to make a big difference, and yes, to make more money. I hope that these tips will help you become such a leader. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemko. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. And in any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.